Salute discipuli and salute omnes. Welcome again to another episode of Latin in Layman's. Thanks for stopping on by. Thanks for not scrolling on past, giving me your time. I know that you could be watching many other video on TikTok because I know that mine can be very long. But we're fighting that rapid fire stuff on TikTok to bring you some content that, well, hopefully you'll learn something new from. That being said, before I get on into some phobia words, as you can see behind me here, would really appreciate some love and support on over Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you find your podcast that you listen to. Latin in Layman's, a Rhetoric Revolution. That's me. I have done now 250 episodes, all about, well, just about anything and everything. I actually have a lot of people hitting me up about the Q&As and stuff like that. I think I'm actually going to compile a bunch of questions from TikTok and address a Q&A on my podcast so that I can actually just go ramble bamble to the nth degree, because I'm very glad that you enjoy my ramble bambles, you guys, because I have sometimes felt so self-conscious about my ramble bambles because I feel like I'm oversharing all the time because I have been an over-explainer for a lot of my life. Maybe you can empathize with that because yeah, you know what, I always say more than I need to a lot of the time. And, well, you know what? That's okay because that's just me. And you guys know me because I'm a real person. And I will always be real, even on things like this, because I think that we see a lot of unreality, non reality, and irrational forms of image and lies and deceit all over this thing. So, this thing we call the internet. So, with that being said, and without me really getting off on something else and not talking about phobia, let's get on into phobia. Because phobia here refers to fear. But in this case, if you have a phobia, according to Almighty Google, it's an irrational fear. I wouldn't consider your fears to be irrational. Maybe if you have phobophobia, which literally means the fear of fear, that might be a little irrational. But you know what? I'm not going to blame you. We deal with so much in this world right now. Our world's pretty chaotic as is. There's a lot of anger. I wouldn't blame you for being afraid of fear. Uh, quite a reflexive term, if you will, kind of like fearception in a way. Never heard of it before, but I thought I'd entertain it. But wrapping back around here, you guys know about this one. Maybe a lot of you guys feel claustrophobic in certain situations where you are enclosed in tight spaces. If I had to be in an elevator for more than maybe like 10 minutes, I would start feeling it. I know that for sure. That's why I love being out in the West, because I love the terrain. I love the expansive vistas. It just makes me feel non-claustrophobic as opposed to when I lived in Washington. Although it's beautiful, it's green, it's lush, it's much more condensed. Like if you go into the woods, sometimes I love that feeling, but sometimes I want to see everything. I want to see all the expanses. I want to see the vistas. I want to see the terrain. I want to see the rolling hills. But that being said, claustra comes from the claustrum in Latin, which means to lock and to bolt up. So essentially, claustrophobia just means the fear of being locked up or bolted up, and or being in locked up places, essentially bolted up places. So if you didn't know, now you know. Next one, brontophobia. Bront means thunder, and then phobia means fear. So fear of thunder, essentially. And, well, don't tell me that etymologically it means the exact same thing according to Almighty Google. So if you know the etymology of the word, you most likely actually know the actual definition of the word. And honestly, I think it's better to know the etymology because then you can start to correlate those bits and pieces that you see in other words, right? Because where do you see also Bronto? I see Bronto in, how about a Brontosaurus? What in the world would Brontosaurus have anything to do with brontophobia? And how would it pertain to thunder? Well, actually, this was actually a TikTok that I released right before I started to blow up, but I did a bunch of dinosaurs. Saurus refers to lizard, and in this case, Bronto refers to thunder. And a Brontosaurus rex, rex meaning king in Latin, I've seen some of you actually post that in the comments before. Love it. It's where we get rex, and then in the genitive singular, it turns from rex because the nominative singular is usually irregular. Rex regis. It's where we get regal from. It's where we get regent. It's also where we get on the other side, Rex is king, Regina is queen. It's also where we get, regal. So, that being said, a brontosaurus, when coming into the scene, was thought to have created a thundering presence. And hopefully nobody gets bothered by that underneath me. Sorry. I think it's Mr. McKenzie down there. Anyways, love you, man. We used to share a classroom last year. You're the best roommate I could have ever had. Rockin' awesome, dude. Ophidiophobia. Ophidiophobia, which is very interesting. Ophidio refers to snake, and I'm sorry I didn't put it there actually, but it's also where we get ophidism, which refers to a poisoning by a snake. So this is just the fear of snakes, essentially. And you guys know me, I actually am not afraid of snakes whatsoever. I actually think that they're misrepresented creatures and misunderstood creatures. And I also think that I'm cold-blooded in nature because I love to be out in the sun and soak up the sun whenever I can. But that being said, this would just be fear of snakes. Now, I was doing a little just like looking at the word because I didn't know that ophidi or ophid or ophidid, whatever. Sorry, Greek, you can at me and let me know how to pronounce it correctly. I was wondering if it's where we get like the Orpheus and Eurydice myth, because if you guys haven't read it before, two lovers, Eurydice, kind of quite sad, but it's a beautiful story, and told through the eyes of Virgil is also very poetic. Eurydice dies by stepping on a viper that bites her. So, and then Orpheus has to go down and basically plead with Hades and, play his instrument and all this stuff. I don't want to get into it, but it's a beautiful story. And I think that it's something that actually I'm starting to get goosebumps thinking about, because when you translate a lot of things from Latin into English, there's a lot of beautiful nuances that you can actually find embedded within the language itself. And it's also very interesting because when you're translating Latin written from Ovid or Virgil or something like that, you're literally translating history. You're translating a first source account of something that somebody wrote way back in the day, right? And now you're bringing it back and you're understanding history in that context from back then. So I'm going to put up some more words here. And also, while I just paused here, I got a text from my mom. She's so sweet. She's just like a number one supporter from the get-go. She sent me a picture all the way back from 2015. It's when I had my first job as a Latin teacher. I don't know if this is going to focus or not. But yeah, that was me at the University of Puget Sound, CWLT. That was my first job tutoring Latin when I was mentioning about like what got me into Latin. And that's what kind of started my instruction. And from then on, I was the first subject Latin tutor back then. I wonder if they got a Latin tutor over that school, but if not, I don't know. Let me know. If you go to UPS, University of Puget Sound, I used to be there back in 2015, and I was the first subject Latin tutor there for the CWLT Center for Writing, Learning, and Teaching. I just got to see how much more time we have left here. All right, we got enough time because we got Phobos here. Phobos is actually a moon of the planet Mars. So if you didn't know, now you know. I thought that throw that one in there because Phobos literally refers to fear itself. And then agoraphobia. Agora in Greek means field. It's also where we get agriculture from, but it's where we later translated from agora in the Greek to ager, Ager, in the Latin. And that's also where we get agricola. Agricola is a farmer in Latin. That's whom conducts agriculture, right? That I've talked about before. Farmers conduct agriculture. Well, at least back then, not so much now that we've industrialized a bunch and all that good stuff / bad stuff / just coming with the times, contemporaneous with the times. Literally what it means, con meaning with or together, and then temporis meaning time, and aeneas pertaining to with the times is what contemporaneous means, aka contemporary. And then finally zoophobia or zoophobia, meaning fear of animals. I don't know really who would be fear of animals or anything like that, but you know what? There are all kinds of phobias out there. I also didn't entertain this one, but I want to say that I have trypophobia because when I look at a bunch of holes all over the place in one little, yeah. If you resonate, let me know down in the comments below. I know that this is towards the end, so I don't even know if you made it this far. But if you did, I love you. Thank you for being here all the way to it. And this is also where